This next presentation in our video series will continue to build from previous videos related to historic tax credits. This video's content was created by Adrian Dickerson, Tax Incentive Staff with the Louisiana Division of Historic Preservation. The purpose of historic tax credit programs is to encourage preservation of historic buildings by offering a financial incentive to offset rehabilitation costs. In this presentation, we are going to specifically discuss the do's and don'ts of photo documenting buildings for Part 1 historic tax credit applications. Proper Part 1 documentation is a vital part to any successful historic tax credit application. The National Park Service has identified specific criteria that your photo documentation must meet in order to be considered adequate for review. The first requirement is that the entire property, including an interior and exterior of all functionally related buildings, as well as the site, must be fully documented. Photos must be key to a current floor plan and must show the condition of the property before work begins. The photos must be color, printed on glossy photo paper, and must be at least 3 inches by 5 inches. The images must be clear with high enough resolution that details can be easily discerned. The photos should be loose and submitted in an envelope so that they can be easily flipped through, not pasted or taped on sheets of paper. Please note that anytime you are applying for the federal historic tax credits, you must submit 2 sets of photos and photo keys. 1 copy of all federal applications and photo documentation is retained in the state office, and the second copy is forwarded on to the National Park Service with SHPO recommendations. The only time a single set of photos should be submitted is if you are applying for state commercial tax credits only. It's important to remember that the Part 1 decisions are based on the appearance and condition of the property prior to rehabilitation. Full photo documentation is required to ensure the reviewer can identify and understand the historic context of important architectural elements and primary and secondary spaces. In order to properly review work proposed in the Part 2 application, full photo documentation must be provided in the Part 1 application. Failure to submit full photo documentation will result in the project being placed on hold until the documentation is provided. Only when a completed application with full photo documentation has been received by our office will the application be placed in queue. The 30-day review period begins when a completed application, including adequate photo documentation, is received. Photos submitted for review must be key to a current floor plan. The floor plan should show the relative size of interior spaces and needs to show the location of all walls, doors, chimneys, windows, stairs, and elevators. All floors, including mezzanine levels, must be photographed with photos key to a current floor plan of that level. The number on the photo key should indicate the location the photo was taken from, and the arrow should be pointing in the direction in which the photo was taken. So the location of the number 1 in the example shown here tells me the photo 1 was taken from the exterior, and the direction the arrow is pointing lets me know that photo 1 is shown from the front elevation of the house. Do not use an intricate alphanumeric coding system when you're keying your photos. Keep it simple. Start with number 1 and work your way up from there. For example, if the property you're documenting is a small single shotgun that can be fully documented with 26 photos, the first photo should be labeled and keyed as number 1, and the last photo should be labeled and keyed as number 26. Likewise, if you have a large multi-property building that takes 500 photos to fully document, the first photo should be labeled and keyed as number 1, and the last photo should be keyed and labeled as 500. If you have any questions about how your photos should be organized, especially when dealing with multi-building properties, please feel free to contact our office and we will be happy to help you come up with a plan. Here we have an example of a photo key for a commercial warehouse in New Orleans. You can see that the applicant has keyed the photos to a current floor plan that shows the location of doors, windows, and walls. Now this is a warehouse, so there aren't many interior partition walls, but there was a recessed loading bay that was marked on the key. Photos are numbered in key beginning with the number 1, and the arrows point in the direction the photo was taken. Exterior photos show full elevations, and the exterior photos show the full span of the interior, including the floor, roof structure, and interior walls. This is a photo key that shows a larger, more intricate building with multiple rooms and corridors. The floor plan shows the location of all walls, doors, and windows. The photos are keyed using a simple numbering system with arrows pointing in the direction of the photos that they were taken. The applicant also made sure to photograph the entire building, exterior and interior, including corridors. This is a good example of how photo documentation of larger buildings should be keyed. Now here's an example of how not to key your Part 1 photos. To begin with, this is a photo key submitted for a building with approximately 15,000 square foot of interior space, plus a crawl space and a 5-story bell tower. Only 17 photos were submitted for review, and the floor plan shows no windows, doors, stairs, upper floors, or interior walls. There is no indication of location or direction that the photos were taken. The application was placed on hold until full photo documentation key to an accurate floor plan was received. Now let's move on to other common problems with Part 1 photos, beginning with image quality. The blurry out of focus photo. Photos submitted for review need to be clear, focused, and of high enough resolution that details about historic features, materials, and finishes can be discerned. This photo is so blurry that there isn't much we can accurately determine about this building, its features, materials, or finishes. In fact, the only thing we can accurately determine from this photo is the building's basic form. The photo is not adequate for a review. This is the distorted photo. Photos submitted need to accurately represent the configuration of rooms within the building. Here you can see that the applicant used a panoramic photo to try and get all 4 walls of the room into a single photo. In doing so, they completely distorted the image, and we are unable to understand the context of the room and its space in relation to the property as a whole. This photo is not adequate for review. SHPO often recommends that applicants stand in one corner, facing the corner diagonally to their position. Take a photo of the space from that vantage point. In most rooms, you should be able to get ceiling, floor, and 2 walls in the image by doing this. Then move to the corner you were just facing and take another photo facing the opposite direction. An average room should take 2 to 4 photos to properly document. If there is any unique features in the room, please include an additional photo or 2 of those as well. The out of context photo. Photos submitted need to have some sort of context so that we can understand their relevance. These close-up photos show that repairs and cleanings are needed, but we have no idea what we're looking at or how it ties into the overall condition of the building. Are we looking at damage on the walls or ceilings or cabinetry? We have no way of knowing. These photos are not adequate for review. The cluttered room photo. Photos submitted need to show historic features, materials, and finishes of the building. If a room is so cluttered with things that we can't properly assess what historic materials and finishes are there, then the photos are insufficient. We understand that there will be instances when photographing an occupied building that furnishings will block some of the areas from view, but please keep in mind that the purpose of Part 1 photos is to document the building, not residents' belongings. Again, it is important to make sure that photo documentation submitted for your Part 1 application for historic tax credits meets the required criteria. Make sure that you document the entire property, including the interior and exterior of all functionally related buildings, as well as the surrounding site. Make sure that your photos show the condition of the property before work begins. Make sure that your photos are clear, colored images with high enough resolution that details can be seen. Make sure your photos are at least 3 inches by 5 inches and are printed on glossy photo paper. Make sure your photos are key to an accurate floor plan that shows the location of walls, doors, windows, chimneys, stairs, and elevators. Keep your photo key numbering system simple. And always remember that if you're applying for federal tax credits, you must submit everything in duplicate, including photos and photo keys. The tax incentive staff at the Louisiana Division of Historic Preservation is happy to answer any questions that you may have about photo documentation, so feel free to call if you need any additional information or guidance.